several of my partners, which a lot of you do know them. They're not here tonight for one reason or another, but we're excited to have Robert Glasier back with us. You guys are you're in for a treat. So, but first I'm going to start with a video. I think it's a 4-minute video, and then we'll bring up the real entertainment. Now I'm going to introduce you to Peak Performance Partners. Performance Partners. We're a company that has executives with over 200 years of combined experience, working for publicly traded companies such as Verizon, AT&T, and Wyndham Resorts, helping them drive millions in annual sales and creating efficiencies, which, creates greater profits. We've also worked for privately owned companies, helping startup divisions within these companies achieve over $100 million in annual revenues. We've also, each of us, have owned our own companies. Not only do we know what it's like to sign the back of a check, we also know what it's like to sign the front of a check. And that is why we teamed up with the Alternative Board Worldwide, or as we like to call it, TAB. TAB is an organization that is in over 23 countries. It's been around for 30 years, helping business owners and business leaders achieve their ultimate dream. What we do is we put together peer advisory boards made up of business executives from non-competing industries, where we meet once a month and we talk about challenges and opportunities. And then we help each other by going from our background and giving collective wisdom. Can you imagine having 250 to 300 years of experience helping you as you're making decisions? Some of the topics that often come up in some of the boards are this: employee development, new markets, growth strategies, cash flow issues, and legal matters. Guess what? All organizations have these. In addition to the board meetings where we meet once a month, we also do coaching. This is where we come one-on-one with you and your organization. We talk about a great plan for yourself. What is your mission? What's your vision? What's the culture? And what's your brand promise? In addition to the Alternative Board, we also have a consulting division. This is where we come in and do a deeper dive with you and your organization. What we do is we're going to create a gap analysis. We're going to see where's the place that we can spend the least amount of time to make the greatest impact. We're going to look at marketing. We're going to look at your sales process. We like to follow the client through the journey of how did they get to know about you, and then how did they become a client, and then how was their journey? Are there any gaps in that process that we can make better to make them happier, generating higher revenue and greater profits? A lot of times this will include leadership development. We have a great plan where we come in and help your team become more accountable and make sure that they're following up, making sure that the meetings that they're attending are meaningful. Then we'll start to review the financials. Helping business owners identify blind spots within themselves and their organization, that is what we enjoy. I'd also like to invite you to tune into our Are You Killing It podcast. This is where we talk to local business owners and find out what are some secrets to how they're killing it. Our goal is to provide an environment for business leaders and owners to connect with new people, reconnect with old friends, and get information from industry experts. We also have a video production team. Does your company have its own video? Something that explains your product or service in such a high professional manner that everybody's going to want to do business with you? Have you ever thought about employee onboarding and doing training videos? What's so important about a training video is, guess what? You get to control the environment and the message that all your new employees are saying. We love being a part of this business community. Industry leading. Have you ever thought about that term? One of the things we do is we help companies identify what are industry leading companies and how did they become that. What I want to encourage you to do is this: don't go alone. Use our 200 years of collective experience to help you and your organization. There's an African proverb that we often refer to. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Please, this business community is made up of companies that are killing it because they're going together. I want you to be one of those. Come join us.
I'd like you guys to please give it up to Bob Glasier from Unwind Mellon. You guys are in for a treat, and yeah, let's give him a round of applause. And
I'll do it that. So, my apologies, I want to qualify, he oversold this, lower your expectations, and we'll try to bring it up from there. And that was a tough act to follow, thank you, Patrick, for that. So, hopefully you'll come to realize I'm the kind of person, I appreciate questions, I appreciate you sharing your experiences. I want this to be an interactive thing. Anything you want me to go a little deeper into, if you have some thoughts on it, please don't be shy. I'm not going to call out anybody, but I do appreciate everybody participating. So, in my career, I have worked with businesses pretty much nonstop. For a long time, I was in corporate banking, lending money to people like yourselves. I worked for quite a while with one of the big 4 accounting firms in a consulting capacity. But I didn't do accounting and tax. I went and actually did consulting to help them improve processes in different aspects of their business. I was a chief financial officer for a couple of middle market companies for several years, and now I'm in private banking as a wealth manager. So I had a lot of experience with business owners like yourself, and I once heard somebody say that all bankers are frustrated entrepreneurs. And that actually resonated with me. I have a great amount of respect for anybody that has the courage to start a business and puts in the hard work and dedication that is needed to make you successful. So my whole goal here is to share some things with you so that hopefully you have some takeaways on how to accelerate and improve the value of your business, pitfalls you need to be aware of, and also just some things that raise your awareness to the point if some of these things come up in the near future for you and your business's life, hopefully you'll remember it, but if not, at least you're going to go, wait a minute, I feel a red flag here. This is something I need to call Patrick or have him introduce me to that guy that was talking about this a while ago. So we're going to talk about, the goal here is to talk about how you guys can turn your business into something that's going to write you a check for the rest of your life. So this presentation is called Keeping the End in Mind, and there's an old proverb that you always start with the end in mind, and that's how you plan to get where you want to get. So what we're going to talk about is how the end of your business should be the guideline for the things you should be doing now to improve and increase the value of your business right now. So this is the Jeopardy period, and the answer is 83%. Anybody know the question?
Businesses that fail?
Well, that's a very good guess. It's what percent of business owners have planned for the transition of their business? And the answer is 83% of business owners have no plan or no transition. And I think even the 17 they give credit to, they're giving too much credit. They've probably just thought about it in a passing fashion. So, 50%. This is the percentage of private businesses that fail. Half of all private business fails, and they fail for one of these 5 reasons primarily. There's a variety of reasons, but there's one of these. Death, disability of owners or key employees, divorce, disagreement, or disruption or disaster. Now, years ago, I would have thought disruption and disaster was a fire in a warehouse or something along those lines, major crash in communication systems. Now you can add pandemic to that kind of thing. And I think a lot of us have probably known a lot of people that failed as a result of what happened here recently. So, 80%. What percentage of businesses, private businesses, never transition? That means they never sell. They never go on to the next generation, get sold to another company. And the primary reason for this is because the business is not attractive or it is not ready.
And we'll talk more about what makes a business attractive and ready a little later. 76%. This is the percentage of business owners that feel profoundly regretful after selling their business. This was a study done by PricewaterhouseCoopers and PNC Bank. And all of the people that sold their business within a year, they said they were profoundly regretful. So why do you think they were profoundly regretful? What about their business sale made them so? Did they not get a great deal? Did they not get as much money? They found out they could have got more money. What do you think is the primary reason they're regretful?
Nothing to do.
They have nothing to do. They did not think about, what am I going to do with myself after I sell my business? So they find that they're rich, but they're miserable because they don't have anything to do with themselves. So one of the things I ask people, so how many of you, let's go back. How many of you in this room have a transition plan for your business? Okay, that's above average to actually have 3. Is it in writing? Has it been set to writing? Have you shared it with other key people? So the rest of you that didn't raise your hands, why don't you have a transition plan? Anyone? There's no wrong answers here. It's the reason you haven't done it. A shy bunch.
Day by day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of the reasons you're so busy running the business, you don't have time to think about that. I've had people tell me, I'm still young. I have no reason to sell my business. I enjoy what I do, right? So why would you even think about that? Well, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. One of the things that occurs, even when you're completely happy, you want to run your business, is somebody from private equity walks in and they offer you $10, $20, $30 million for your business, and at that point, all of your resolutions change. And now you're sitting there like, holy smoke, that's more money than I ever thought I'm going to have. And they've got your attention. This I call the unsolicited offer. These people find you and they come out of nowhere and they make you an offer. So a couple of things I want to impress upon you. How many people have just had somebody come out of nowhere and make an offer to purchase your business?
I've had phone calls.
Yeah. Trust me, I know investment bankers who they just have all kinds of clever ways to find you, and they'll have people calling and trying to drum up some interest. And we'll talk about one of the primary reasons here in a little while. But if you do get one of these calls, there's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. First of all, this is my mantra. You will always hear me say this. One offer is no offer. One offer is no offer. You have to have more than one offer to truly get best price and best terms for the sale of your business. And I also tell people, do not sell or transition just because somebody makes you a great offer. Do it on your time, when you're ready, when it's right for you. There's a lot of things you have to be prepared for, and the company needs to be prepared for. And remember, what percentage of all businesses fail to transition? 80%. So even if you go down this path, what is likely to happen? The deal's going to fall out and you're not going to go through. And we'll talk about some of those reasons why. So let me give you an interesting example of the one offer is no offer. So I'm losing track of time, but I'll say 4 years ago, an accountant I know, one of his clients called him and said, I just received an unsolicited offer, or he said, I received an LOI for $7.5 million. It is more money than I ever thought I was going to have. I'm going to take this offer. I'm going to move on. This accountant, I am part of a group here locally. It's a network group of business advisors, and we get together on a regular basis. We got together this morning, and we talk about a variety of issues that impact our businesses, and we try to raise awareness of issues like this so that all these business advisors are aware, so when their clients make these calls, they can give them some good advice. So The accountant that got called is part of this group, and he's actually on the steering committee, and he said to this client of his, he said, look, one offer is no offer. If you're really interested in selling your company, you need to get an investment banker, you need to go through a controlled auction, get a whole bunch of interest, have a lot of people bidding, and you'll get best price and best terms. And it took a little while to talk him into it, but we got him to agree. So he calls back the company that made the offer and said, look, my accountant and other advisors have told me that I really need to go out and try to see if there's more interest. And the guy on the other end goes, look, you don't want to do that. It's going to disrupt your business. It's going to take all kinds of time. Listen, I'll give you $10 million and we'll just call it a day. So now some people would go, well, wait a minute, I thought 7.5 was a lot, 10 is even more. I'm just going to take it and run. Fortunately for this guy, he thought, well, wait a minute, originally you were going to offer me 7.5, now you went to 10. It started making him think, maybe there is more value there and I just don't know about it. So he went through this. We got him in touch with an investment bank that had a controlled auction, got a whole bunch of interest, multiple bids. Guess what this guy who got a $7.5 million offer actually sold his company for in the end? $25 million. So I'm not going to tell you, the moral of the story isn't whatever your initial offer is, if you hold out, you're going to get 3 or 4 times that. But if you do it where you get a lot of interest and a lot of different bids, you're going to find out you probably get not only a better price, but you're going to get better terms, and we'll talk a little about that later. I will share with you today, I was talking to somebody who started a business that is, it's a kind of an educational subscription service for people in healthcare industry. He said for a long time he's only been getting offers of like 4 to 5 times the multiple of his earnings before income taxes, interest taxes, and depreciation. He said he finally got somebody to come through and they've offered him 11 times, so he's in the process of now selling his business for $55 million. So again, you need to shop it around and find the right person that sees the real value in your company. So what is causing all of this interest for the unsolicited offers? A large part of it is private equity. Does everybody know what private equity is? Private equity are these companies that raise funds from people that have money they want to invest, and they go out looking to buy businesses like yours. Some take very strategic approaches. They develop a level of expertise in something like education or technology. Some people go around and they buy a bunch of companies in a similar industry and they consolidate them, do a process improvement, and then sell it off to somebody else. But there's a lot of different things going on. But it's actually turned, you can't see this necessarily really well, but the red lines are public companies. So you go back to 2000, you can see most of the companies that were out there were public companies. It used to be the only way you could really raise money as a company is by going public. But as you can see, because of changes in technology and investment knowledge, privately held companies far outnumber public companies at this point for a variety of reasons. One is it's a bit of a hassle to have a public company. You have to do all kinds of filings. There's all kinds of poking and prodding. And being private in many ways is a way to have better returns for your company. It is said that private equity has somewhere between $700 million and about $1.5 billion in cash to put to work. And so they're out there, and they will be, if they haven't called you yet, they will be calling soon. So this is a process, Patrick kind of referred to it. So one of the things we originally talked about, 50% of businesses fail because of one of those 5 reasons primarily. So this is a process that a lot of people use, and this is a sample from a group called the Exit Planning Institute. So it talks about how you create value in your business now. And what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is obtain a business valuation. So you get an outside party to come in and give you a business valuation. So why would you want to start with a business valuation? Well, it's It sets a baseline for you, so you know what somebody from the outside sees as the value of your company at this point in time. And then from then on out, you want to measure, I would say at least on an annual basis, how are we doing using kind of the same methodologies? How are we doing? Did we create value this year? Did we lose value this year? How did I do? Go ahead.
I have a question for you on the business valuation. So we had a business valuation last year, and we came back, and I was kind of surprised just because of what I've been seeing in our industry. And then I got another business valuation, and it was totally different because I went with someone that understands our industry. Do you see a lot of that happening with different valuations from different companies?
Yeah, unfortunately, just like every line of business, there's good attorneys, there's not so good attorneys, there's good accountants, there's not so good accountants. In valuations, yeah, some people really know what they're doing and have a great sense of it and can really provide some reality.
I know both parties, and I know they're very trusted advisors, so that's why I was just kind of curious to see why.
And sometimes it might even be just your industry. Some industries have unique ways of doing valuation, so if they don't really understand that, then they may get the valuation wrong. So it's very important. I would encourage all of you, if you do get an evaluation, ask around now. There's multiple kinds of valuations you get. You can get the, what I call the psychology paper valuation, which is the really thick one, the money, or you can get a 2 or 3 page summary, which should give you an idea of what the drivers and the value are and something that you can use going forward to do that yourself. I mean, you might want to check in again because some of the inputs in these things change after a while, and we'll kind of talk about some of that later. But it's important to have this and have a good base. Then you want to go through and do, as Patrick mentioned, you want to assess and identify gaps in your business. So one of the things I used to do when I was a consultant, and the benefit of being a consultant is you see a lot of businesses and you can come to understand what is a best practice in business. And then you go to others and you can see where they are and you go, okay, you're here, here's best practice, this is the gap. And here are the steps you need to take to close that gap to get you to best practice and add value. So you want to do that. And then you want to also take a look at your personal finances as well. Assess where you are, assess where you want to be, talk about financial goals, and take several steps as far as assessing where you are and get professional advice, and we'll talk more about this later. And then you want to develop an action plan in this. So now you've kind of done this assessment with the help of some people from the outside. The next thing you want to do is immediately start with de-risking your business. And by de-risking, one of the first places you start are those 5 things we said most businesses fail from. You figure a way to protect your business from death of yourself or key people, disability, all the other things that could happen. One time when I gave this presentation, there was a guy in the room that had 3 of the 5 D's in his business. It's still like, he had a divorce, he had some major disaster as part of it. I can't remember what the last one was, but he survived. So again, start there, start making your business improvements, close the gaps, do personal and financial planning, and then prepare a master plan. So a master plan, I always say, you think of a master plan as a stool. At the top are you and your family, if you have one, or other important constituents in your life. And then the 3 legs below are your business, your personal finance, and then the 3rd leg is your plan, the 3rd stage of your life, which is the, what am I doing after I sell my business? Any one of those you're missing, your plan is not going to be successful. Then you're now in a position, you've improved, you're accelerating the value of your business. The business should be easier to run, should be more profitable, should be a lot better for you. And then you're in a position you can decide, if someone comes and gives you an unsolicited offer, it's for you to decide, do I want to sell or do I just want to stay and keep growing this? I mean, you're in a position now where you make the decision and do it when the time is right for you. So, I regularly meet with business owners who have received these unsolicited offers. accountants or attorneys I know will call me and say, hey, my client just received this offer. Will you sit down and chat with them? Which I'm always happy to do. And again, I do this because of my admiration for all of you, and I want to see all of you be as successful as you possibly can. Again, right now, the odds are not good for all of you, so I'm trying to help flip this so that you can be more successful. So the first two things I start with, and there's a lot of things to consider, but the first two important things I say, if you get this unsolicited offer, will it be enough? And how much are you actually going to get? I love conversations where I go, hey, I just got an LOI. How much was it? $10 million. I'm going to get $10 million. Really, is that all cash? Well, no. Half of it's cash and half of it is an earnout. And you're like, okay, and how does that earnout work? Or they're carrying back a note or something else is going on. You also want to make sure you understand how the taxes are going to impact it and what other fees and costs there are going to be. We actually had a presentation, I don't know if you were there for it, but we had a couple of accountants do a presentation on, I'm selling my business, what are all the things that can impact how much I get in net proceeds? For example, if you sell for $10 million and they're just buying your company stock, what are you going to end up with in general? You'll get, we'll just say you're getting cash, but out of 10 million, what are you going to really keep? You'll keep $8 million because you have to pay a 20% capital gains tax, right? Well, if they buy your assets, and let's say your assets are only worth really $6 million, but they're paying you $10 million, what are you going to pay? What are you going to end up with? So this changes the whole game. So it gets into how do you allocate the purchase price to the assets? Are you going to have depreciation, recovery? Is some of it going to be to some kind of intangible? And what happens there? You pay ordinary tax rates on that, like 37% at the highest. So you're not going to end up with the same amount of money. So there's a lot of things that impact you have to think about. And the second thing I tell people is what are you going to do with yourself after the transition? Two most important things. Is it enough? Now, once you figure out what you have, if I just say, okay, you're going to net with $5 million, is $5 million going to be enough for everybody in the room? Everybody okay with having $5 million? Well, all of us have different financial goals. Yeah, I know. I'd be okay with $5 million. All of us are going to have different financial goals, but some of us are younger too. So if you're 25 and you have $5 million, is that going to last you the rest of your life? If you're 65 and you have $5 million, again, it's just a question of what are you spending. I once talked to a couple, they were selling their business. I asked them, how much do you guys spend on your lifestyle every year to support it? The bubble with the question is still hanging over my head, and the husband says, $500,000 a year. I see out of the corner of my eye, the wife is rolling her eyes, and she goes, honey, the American Express bill's $50,000 every month. No, it's not. It is. I pay the bills. And you're like, okay. American Express, $600,000. So what about auto and insurance? Do you guys pay that through the business, or do you pay it personally through the business? What about travel, entertainment? Personally, through the business, through the business. After a line of questioning, I even found out their nanny was an employee of the business. So in the end, the husband who thought they were only spending $500,000 a year to support their lifestyle, when I worked with their accountant, they were actually spending $900,000 to $1 million a year to support their lifestyle. So I assure you, some of the smartest people in business have no idea how much they're spending, especially the ones that are successful and have a lot of money. See, if I spend a lot of money, at some point my checks start bouncing, and then the bank calls me, and they, deny my credit cards. Some people keep going and don't know until they can finally spend their way out of money, and I have seen it happen. So 95%. So how many of you in here understand the value of your business and feel you understand it well? Okay, I've got 3. And the rest of you probably think, well, maybe I do, but I just don't want to raise my hand. 95% of business owners aren't sure of the value of their business or have just a vague idea of what it is. So it's important for all of you to understand what is the value of your business, what are the drivers of your business, and how you can add value to your business for the future. So we talked a little about this earlier. You get a valuation, it becomes your baseline. I believe you should update it annually, so you'll have an idea of, when you get this, you should have an idea of kind of the metrics and how they do it. So the easy thing is just to do a multiple of EBITDA. And you may do a variation if you really want to be clever, you can, or more conservative, you can even do a multiple on your free cash flow. What is the difference between EBITDA and free cash flow? I know you're thinking, wait, I didn't know there was going to be a quiz tonight. Well, again, EBITDA is just an operational number, whereas free cash flow actually takes into consideration you have a business that has receivables and inventory and payables, so if you have all that, as your business grows, what happens to those items? They grow as well, right? In order to sell more, you need to have more inventory and probably end up with more receivables and payables. So it looks at, as the business grows, how much of your earnings are actually consumed by working capital needs. And also you might want to consider your capital expenditures. Now, that's not for major projects, but just replacement capital expenditures, just to maintain what you're doing. So that would be a more conservative way to do this. So how many of you have a formal transition advisory team? Anyone? I imagine everybody here has an accountant, right? Everybody probably has an attorney. And it's perfectly okay at this point to not have these people, because if you're not actively thinking of selling, some of these people you won't need. But again, most of you do not have any kind of transition team. So when it comes up, who do you actually need on your transition team? The most important advisor you have is your CPA. Would everybody agree with that? And frequently the CPA is always excited. Cited as one of their important advisors. Probably the next one, some of you may have an investment advisor or a trust and estates attorney, or you had your valuation done, and there may be others like insurance advisors. And then later, when you do finally get an offer for your company or interest, you want to add a mergers and acquisitions attorney and then an investment banker. Now, if you don't know these people, and most people don't, it's okay. What you want, though, is you want one of your advisors to be in a position where they can make referrals to these kind of people, and they're people they can refer to you with confidence. So the fellow I was talking to today that's selling this educational company for $55 million, I asked him something that we'll talk about a little later, and I made a referral. So I referred a couple names to him. So I know that he's going to be getting good counsel in what he's doing. So here again, the accountant. This is a survey that was done by the Business Enterprise Institute. And again, accountants are the top, most trusted. Spouse is the second. Other business owners, peer groups, which is what the Peak Performance Partners run. So these are good people to work with. I put this up here mostly because the banker got a 0. So nobody loves their banker, and the insurance agent isn't loved either. So yeah, I know. So when you get to the point that you're looking to sell your business, why would you hire an investment banker? Well, all the reasons here. They have a Rolodex. So one time I used the word Rolodex, and I was looking at the age of the room, and I'm like, are there any of you that don't know what a Rolodex is? Okay. You don't? Okay. But investment bankers have a Rolodex of people that might be interested in your company. Regardless of what industry you're in or what type of company you are, they have a Rolodex of all these people that will do this. They know what the value drivers are. They serve as your gatekeeper, so they will take care of all this information coming in. And so rather than you having 20 people asking you for things, the investment banker will gather it, creates what they call a data drop box where everything goes, so everybody can just look at the data there, and then they control what's in it and who has access. They negotiate on your behalf, and you need to find the one that is right for you. So, does everybody know all the ways when you finally get to that point you want to sell your business, all the ways you can do it? Well, you can just pass the business on to the next generation, which it looks like there's a little bit of that going on here. Or are you all siblings?
Oh, the three of us?
Yeah.
It's the glasses, right?
Okay. So you can sell to the next generation, sell to management. You can do an ESOP. Is everybody familiar with an ESOP, an employee stock ownership plan?
Like Winco?
What's that?
Is that like Winco?
I don't know. Is Winco an ESOP? Does anybody know?
Employee owned or something like that, right?
Yeah, an ESOP is a very complex transaction which actually invokes federal labor laws because it's kind of like a 401k where your only investment is the company. So the employees own the company, but it's their savings plan, and their savings plan, all it does is invest the company they work for. Now that's kind of a gross oversimplification, but it's very complex. So then you can do a partial sale or recapitalization, and this could be to private equity or a number of other people. Why would you do a partial sale? Why would you only sell a part of your company?
Sell the bad part?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not like you're splitting it off and selling it, keeping the company whole. It's just you're going to sell somebody else 30, 40% of it. So why would you do that?
Investment, value, control. You want to still keep some of it.
Yeah, all of these very close. Primary reason, well, a couple of reasons. One, you're getting to the point where you're thinking like, you know what? I once had a client of mine, and anybody who's been in Las Vegas long enough can appreciate, he was a general contractor. He built his business up, the economy crashed. He built his business back up, the economy crashes again. The third time he built his business up, he's like, I'm selling because I don't have the energy or the time to rebuild this a third time. So one of the reasons is you just take some money off the table and you diversify your assets and investments, your personal. So you're taking money off the table. And another reason, you want to pick the right partner in doing this because you want someone that can help you add value to your company. So typically, if you pick the right partner, it may be somebody that can get you an introduction into a product line that you've never been able to get. They may be able to help you expand into other markets, other states that you haven't been able to expand into. So they not only help you take money off the table, but they're going to help the business become more successful. And more than likely, they're also going to be the ones that ultimately buy you out at some point in the future. But with their assistance, your remaining share is going to be worth a lot more money. And that frequently happens what we call the second bite of the apple. People make a lot more money the second time around than they did the first time around. And then the last one is just kind of the majority sell. So it's private equity. So see a lot of private equity transactions. The person I talked to today is actually a strategic acquisition. So he's being acquired by someone who's kind of in his line of business and wants to add them as kind of a differentiator in what they do. So there's a lot of different ways to get picked up. But you need to understand, you don't need to know this now, but when this comes, you need to understand the pros and cons of all these. Not every company can be sold through an ESOP. And you don't want to do a partial sale if it's not going to add any value. You want a partner that can help you add value to your business. So you need to be sure how you do this. So, example. Go ahead.
So is this something that you do? Do you help people transition into selling their companies? And if so, at what time should they engage in your expertise as guiding them through?
Well, that is a very good question. Let me try and answer all of that. I don't do this, a lot of it, but what I do is I preach it, and how I help my clients is like I help the guy today, or I help people I come into contact is with, you tell me, hey, here's what's going on with me, and I need help here, or I start to realize you might need like this guy, he was using a tax attorney to help him with this. And I told him, no. This may be the best tax attorney in the world, but you need a good M&A attorney. Mergers and acquisitions.
These conversations for free?
Yeah, with me, yeah. But my plan is not completely selfless, and we'll get to where I come in. Thank you. Yeah. I have a mortgage to pay and 2 kids in college, so. No, but I do, most of this I do for free. Like I told you, the lunches I just do it out of the goodness of my heart. Because again, I want to see everybody be successful. And what I've come to realize, I've been doing this now for a better part of a decade, and I've come to realize this is a well-kept secret. So many people are unaware of this, that what we're seeing is just the continuation of the 50% failures, the 80% don't get transitioned. All of these things just keep going. And there's people that are rich and miserable. So I'm just trying as hard, and that's what Exit Planning Institute, Exit Map, the Business Enterprise Institute, there's a whole bunch of groups out there trying to raise awareness of these issues, but we're not doing a very good job because I haven't heard that the results are changing. So now to answer your question about the when, if all of these things are done at different times, so most of it you just need to tuck away in the back of your mind until that comes up and you go, wait a minute, I heard about this. And I may or may not remember what I heard, but I know this is important, and then you got to try to reach out and find people to fill in the missing pieces. I remember this being important, I just don't remember why. But some of the things like getting an evaluation on your business, de-risking your business, doing the gap analysis, all of you should already be doing that now, at least thinking about these issues. And if you
Business, who do you do that with?
There's a lot of different things. One of the best ways, I believe, and I'm not doing this just because Patrick's here, is getting into one of these peer group type of things. Because, you all sit down, and how many people do you have in a group? 8. I was going to say 8 or 10. So you sit down with these 8 people, all in different businesses. Most of them are probably very successful. And you can come in and go, I'm having a problem with my inventory picking system. I'm having a problem with my payroll system. I'm having a problem with my employees in this regard. And then the others can kind of share with you, had that same problem, here's how I dealt with it. Now, if you don't have a good group or you can't always find a solution, sometimes you need to seek out an expert. One of the things I try to do, I do a lot of networking, and I do a lot of checking with people. So I'll meet someone, and then I'll try to, if I hear about somebody's done some work for somebody I know, I ask. Because when I make a referral, I want to know that they're going to be highly responsive and give nothing but high quality service. And even after I give referrals and people I have confidence in, I want to know that they're going to continue to do that, so I always check in with them. So there's going to be other times you might need somebody who's a little more of an outside consultant. There are people here in town that I know that do this kind of process improvement, not with the goal being of selling. They just come in and give you an outside view of your company and start helping you improve your process. So if you're actually interested in one of those, I can give you a few names and you can talk to them. So one of the things I want you, go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
At what point in your business should you consider the transition stage? Is it at the beginning? Should you just have a plan to follow, middle, or end? How do you determine?
Well, some of it's up to you. So I talk to some people that are kind of perennial entrepreneurs. So like the guy today, he started his business when he was 25. He's 32. He's going to make $55 million. So one of the conversations I had with him is, what are you going to do with yourself after? Well, I want to stay with the company for a while. And then he went on to tell me about 2 or 3 other entrepreneurial things he had in mind. And I'm like, okay, you sound like you're all set. So some people, it's not just the money and relax. They just keep doing things like this in the future. Some people, the business is what they want to do, and then at some point, health issues come up, you get tired, you've done it long enough, you decide it's just time to move on. It's all very personal and what's right for you. But there's a lot of different reasons to set a time frame up.
Should you have a transitional plan like from the beginning, or like already like just kind of like a temporary plan, and then as it evolves as you go, and then
I would,
plug it in when you're ready?
I would say in general, I would do a framework, but I would leave flexibility in there because things are going to change. I mean, unless, see, the typical time frame where you really want to start thinking about transition is if for some reason you're in that mindset, you know what, I'm starting to think I might want to move on to something else. It typically, we say it takes 2 to 3 years of preparation before you are actually going to be ready to go through a transition. So that is going to be your runway, that 2 to 3 years. So you can still do a framework, but keep it flexible and just at least give some thought to these things. But remember, when you get 2 to 3 years and you're starting to think, yeah, you know what, I'm thinking it's maybe time for me to move on, you need to give yourself 2 to 3 years to get yourself so you're just nailed down and really ready to go. So we talked about all the different ways to transition. There's a lot of different ways you get paid. You can get cash, you can carry back a note, you can do an earn out. There's a lot of different things. The one thing I want to warn all of you, I'm going to make a broad statement. Do not take stock as your payment unless you're acquired by Apple, Google, Netflix, Amazon, somebody like that. I will tell you, I have witnessed several, and this is anecdotal because I don't think several is statistically valid for those of you that are statistics majors. I have witnessed several local deals where people took stock, and a lot of these were in a public company, which this one is, and it did not turn out well. So this deal was a healthcare company. It was acquired by a company traded over the New York Stock Exchange. And his deal was half cash and half in stock. So this little circle here is where the transaction took place, and the stock was a little bit over $20. I begged with our client to not take stock. Sell it for cash, don't take the stock. But what did the CEO of the acquiring company tell him? Everything's going well. There's nothing, sky's the limit for our stock price. So what I did, and I'm going to reveal myself as a complete geek, is I went to the Security Exchange website, the SEC, and I looked up the filings for this company. And what I found is they had filed what is called an S3, which is basically a notice that we're raising additional shares of stock. And in this document that was filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, they said, we're using this stock to acquire companies. So they're basically using their stock as currency. So I told this guy that, hey, what they're doing is this, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm aware they're acquiring a couple of companies. So what happens, despite the fact that this company is public, do all companies have robust trading in their stock? All public companies? Is there robust trading in all these companies' stock? No. They're amazing. There are a lot of public companies whose stock is what we call thinly traded, or there's not much float. This company was one of those companies. So what happened was, out here he cuts his deal. When you take stock from a company, there's what they call a 6-month holding period. So you can't sell your stock any sooner than 6 months. So multiple companies got acquired. 6 months later, what do you suppose all those guys that got acquired did? They all tried to sell their stock. And when a thinly traded company has a bunch of stock for sale, what happens to the price? Yeah, and that's what you see here. Stock price dropped, never recovered. So he ended up losing half of what he had thought he was going to get because of stock price. But
How
that,
many shares did they give him?
he got 10 million in cash and 10 million in stock. I mean, see, it went from 20 to, got down to $5.99. So he pretty much lost all of that. So, cash. Do not take stock. Again, unless it's Amazon, Netflix, Apple, Google, you know. You just want to make sure that if you're going to get out of it, you got to get out of it. So ask somebody professionally before you do it. So this is a sheet we get from a company called GF Data. It shows all of the private company sales that have taken place in the country for that period of time. And this is middle market. So these are deals where it went for anywhere from $20 million to $250 million. So this is kind of the middle market as we here. So there's multiple, I apologize, you probably can't see this really well, but it shows multiples by industry over time. It shows multiples by the size of the deal. Then it shows possible premiums because of the quality of the company. And then this is just a general trend line. So what you're seeing here is multiples from 2000 to 2014 went from a little over 4 to now they're well over 7. So a couple of things that this shows is there's great variety of multiples depending on what your industry. And if you're in technology, the average back then was well over 10. If you're in manufacturing or something else, you're down in the 6s. Depending on size, the lowest in size is 6. The highest in size, the multiple, is 9. So that means if you do nothing but get bigger, you can get a higher multiple. And this is what private equity companies know. So they buy your company with 100 million in revenue. They buy another company with 150. They buy another company. And even if they don't improve it, they can get another 3 times turns by selling the whole thing to somebody else. Now that's not what most private equity companies actually do process improvement, and that comes over here. You can see up to 20 to 25% premium for a good quality company. So what is the primary determinant of a good quality company? What is it that they would say is the ideal company we're looking for based on their profits? I'm sorry, what? Growth is part of it. What's that? Well, they're always looking at kind of EBITDA and more on the bottom line. But what they're looking for is consistency, not only in your cash flow, but in growth. So if you every year grow by 10% and there's no variation, you are going to get a huge premium. Now that's easier said than done, but what are all the things that go into providing that consistency? You don't rely on one supplier. You don't have concentrations in your accounts receivable. You have a good accounting system. You have a good management team that doesn't rely on the owner alone. I mean, on and on and on. You have to do all these things. You don't have geographic concentrations. You don't have any product concentrations. I mean, it's not easy to be that ideal candidate, but these are all the things you do to try to get there. Yeah, so again, remember, and this is one of the things in your valuation, you need to be aware of, for your industry and for your size, what is the appropriate multiple? I mean, a lot of people just throw around multiples. Not everybody gets a 6 times or a 10 times multiple. You have to be the right company, so it's important you understand. And also understand multiples are actually just the inverse of a percentage desired return on your investment. So if let's say a company acquires your company for a 5 times multiple, what is it they're actually expecting in a return on their investment?
10, 50 times?
It's about 20%. Because again, it's 5 times 20 gets you to 100. So these are all just inverse of the other. So a 10 times multiple, if they give you a 10 times multiple, what kind of return are they looking on their capital? 10%. So that's kind of, these are the inverse of each other, and that's kind of how that ties. So financial planning, probably most of your net worth is in your business, and that's just the way it's going to be for most of you until you finally do a partial sale or a full sale. And that's okay. That's why this is so important to you guys. So when the time comes, you need to understand how much you're going to get. You want to sit down with a good investment advisor who can help you do an investment that is right for you and your risk tolerance. You need a good trust and estates plan. You need some tax planning. You need a financial plan so you understand how much you can spend and how much you can afford. And you need to do what is right for you. Now, the one thing I'll warn you here about is what I call the country club conversation. You go out, you play golf with somebody, and you come in to the 19th hole and you're getting something to drink, and the guy goes, "Hey, how'd your investment advisor do for you last year?" And you said, "Well, my investment advisor got me 6%. Your investment advisor sucks. Mine got me 12. Is this guy's investment advisor actually better than yours? For him, maybe, yes. What if I told you the 6% was mostly tax-exempt income? What if I told you that everything in that 6% return was long-term capital gains, so it was only taxed at 20? What if I told you this was a pretty risk-free portfolio? What if I told you the 12% was all in short-term gains, was all taxable, and was highly risky? So are those two comparable? They're not. So don't get into those conversations. You need to do what is right for you, not what is right or is working for somebody else. Also, one of the most important things I want you to all think about is it isn't just about investments. These other things that you need to think about, tax management, debt management, financial planning, spending, and here, protection. This is estate planning, insurance, and a bunch of other things. These things add as much to your financial success as what the investments will do for you. So if you do not have a good estate plan, you could lose a bunch of money to transfer and estate taxes. I had a client that thought he had that all taken care of, and we did a review of it, and we found there was a $22 million estate tax problem. We raised these issues, gave him a chance to fix this. We have another client. Client went out of town. Their 16-year-old son, who just got his license, decided he was going to pull a risky business. Took dad's Porsche out. Does everybody know what a GT3 is? A GT3 is just basically it's a street legal race car, is what it is. He took it out for a drive, got in a wreck. The parents got sued for $7 million. They had a $2 million liability umbrella, so the additional $5 came out of their pockets. So all these other things add as much value as the investments. And what this is showing, and the numbers don't matter, but if you start with 20 million and all you do is invest, you're going to end up with about 43 after 20 years. If you do all these other things, all the planning and tax management and spending and debt management, you're going to end up again with almost the same amount on top of it. So you need to consider a bigger picture than just investments. So, how much do you need to retire? I'm going to qualify this, tell you these are kind of some simple guidelines. This is not the way we do it, but I just want to give all of this to you so you can be thinking, how much do I have set aside and how much am I going to need? So whatever you have to know your number, what you live off every year to keep your lifestyle, and then you have to multiply that number, which probably grows for a lot of us, right? I'd be lying if I told you that my lifestyle number was the same when I was 25 as it is now. And my wife helps me spend all the money I make. We frequently, we frequently have conversations about that. So when you're 30, you probably want to have about 1 times whatever you're spending annually set aside. By 40, you want to have 3 times. By 60, you should have 6 times that number. And then by 67, you should have 10 times. Now, these are just general estimates. What you actually need is going to be markedly different depending on your lifestyle and where you are. But just something to help give you some thought. When we do this for our clients, we make them do a budget, we make them understand how much they're spending, and then we have some sophisticated planning tools that do sensitivity analysis where we can run it out and make sure they don't run out of money. And if they are going to run out of money, we identify it so we can make changes to their spending and other things now to ensure that they are successful. So another thing you have to think about in doing all this is what I call your constituencies. Who is important to you in your life, in your business? Who is it you need to take into consideration or you want to? Not everybody's the same here. Family, employees, clients, sometimes suppliers and other people. Some people give a lot of concern about their clients and their employees. I know some guys here locally that sold a fast food franchise. They were offered $120 million for it. The franchisor was buying it from them. They took $100 million with the guarantee that's part of the sales agreement that they would keep all of the employees on for at least the next 5+ years, other than some kind of wrongful, something that went on where they could actually be fired. But these guys loved their employees enough, they took a $20 million haircut to ensure that they stayed on. Now, not everybody is that kind of person, but there are people like that. So, due diligence. When you get an LOI, the next step is they're going to come in and poke and prod and look around your business. And they're looking for all kinds of things. They want to know about your management team, the concentrations you might have in your clients, your suppliers, all kinds of different areas. They're going to look at it. They're going to look at everything. They're going to look at your finances. They're going to look at your IT systems. They're going to look at marketing. They're going to poke and prod. And one of the things, if they get into your accounting and they start looking around and they start seeing exceptions, they start finding things that well, this isn't right in your accounting. What does that do for their confidence in your numbers? And what does that do to the multiple you're going to receive? Yeah, it's going to go down. So again, you want consistent earnings, you got to have all these things taken care of. Now this was provided to me. This is actually KLH Capital, and they're out of Tampa, Florida, and they're actually a private equity firm. And this is kind of just a general thing that they put out. And it's kind of like, hey, what are the things that drive the multiples? Well, if your top 3 customers are 90% revenue, that's going to be a low multiple. But if you have no customer with more than 5, you're going to be 5+ up. So they have all these qualifiers they're looking for. Industry, what industry you're in? Well, do they need your product? Nah, it's just if they feel like it, they can buy it. Well, no, this is non-discretionary, we have to have it. All these things are going to play into what the multiple is. And then they look at your financials. Do you really have a CPA? Do you really have a CFO? Is your accounting system a mess? Is your accounting system really good? All of these are going to impact the multiples you're going to get. I think this was actually 20 some odd pages, so I'm just kind of giving a few highlights just to show the thinking. So this is a system put out by a company called Mouse, which is actually spelled M-A-U-S. And there's also another company called Value Builder, which does this. This is the 24 factors about how attractive is your business. And it shows, so out here where this thing comes all the way to the edge, that's a part of your business is really attractive. These things that are in here, and this says good customer base, not concentrated, that's not good. So it probably says they have concentrations in their customers. This is something, to the extent you could have it done, I would encourage all of you to have somebody come in and do this for you. because this will tell you, this is going to be an instant gap analysis for you and what things you really need to work on to make your business more attractive. These things, but it's like location, key staff longevity, customer concentration, brand awareness. These are all the things that make your company attractive. Now, these are the things that make you ready to sell. Same kind of thing. But it's kind of a question of, are the financials in good shape? No, they're not. Do you have all your intellectual property taken care of? Have you done copyrights? Have you done patents? Have you done things you need to do? Do you have documents executed? There's just a lot of different things in there. So that's what, remember back in the beginning when I said people do not sell, there's attractiveness issues and then there's readiness issues. I mean, you still may be attractive, but you may just be a mess when it comes to the paperwork and everything else behind it. So again, this is a great way to get a quick gap analysis on your business and point you to what you need to improve. And then the system prioritizes it all for you. Blue is great, green is good, yellow's in the warning area, and red is not good. So now where do you attack this? You attack it probably in the red, but you also need to make sure that anything in the red is going to truly add value. So you also want to prioritize about what's going to add the most value. Like I said earlier, you want to have an M&A attorney and you want to get them in LOI. Do not sign the LOI until an M&A attorney's looked at it. There are things, they will tell you the LOI is not binding, but if it's not binding, why would they have you sign it? There are things in the LOI that you won't want there, and there's things that should be in there that they haven't included. Get an attorney. You want an M&A attorney, and they're going to help you not only with the LOI, they're going to help you with the terms of the ultimate sales agreement. I always say, so you start with your LOI, due diligence takes some of the value away, and then in the end you get into what they call the reps and warranties, which are in your sales agreement. And here you can see what the LOI and due diligence giveth, the reps and warranties take away. I actually had a client who unfortunately went ahead and kind of went on a transaction without me knowing much about it. He got down the line. He did not have an M&A attorney help him, and he had an earnout as part of his compensation deal, and he is getting very little of the earnout because of a variety of factors. So one of the things I'm hearing from investment bankers is earnouts very rarely work out for the seller. So try as much as you can, stay away from that, or go with something you have high concentration that you're going to be able to achieve it and get your money. And then the last thing is you want to think about the third stage of your life. So in general, we consider first stage is you're out of school, you go to work for someone, you start your career. The second stage is you start your own business and you make that successful. Then you sell that, you move to the third stage. It's important you think about what are you going to do with you. I personally, if I didn't have to work, I would have plenty to do. I actually, companies I've worked for have been acquired and I found myself kind of off for a little while and I was never bored. I was having a lot of fun. But unfortunately, I'm not independently wealthy, so I had to go back to work. So, but you need to know what works for you. What do you like to do? Is it travel? Do you have friends, family you like to spend time with? Do you want to give back to the community? Do something philanthropic? Whatever it is that gets you up in the morning, make sure you know what that is and be prepared. And one of the things, a lot of times, I was kind of mentioned this earlier, a lot of us think, yeah, I'm going to work till I'm 70, but then you start, health issues arise. You know, there's cancer, there's dementia, there's always something that surprises you and changes your time frame, which is why it's a good idea to have kind of a framework for, you know, the transition of your business, just in case you get surprised by something. One of the most uncomfortable moments I had was I had a couple of clients come in and they were in the process of selling business. Husband was active in the business, wife not so much. I was asking the husband, well, what do you plan to do after you retire? The husband started going on with all these great things he was planning to do. And suddenly the wife interrupts and says, wait a minute, just because you're now stopped working, don't think I'm going to change my life to start doing all the things you want to do. I've got some stuff going on. I'm not ready to start making all kinds of new plans. And that's the point where we said, well, we'll be stepping out here for a minute and give you a chance to talk about this. But it's important, again, getting back to constituencies, you need to communicate with the people that are important in your business and in your life so they understand where you're heading and what is going on. So, again, the closing is be prepared. It's kind of a Boy Scout thing. I wasn't a Boy Scout, but still, you want to be prepared for all this. Have a knowledge of value, how to create value, improve your business, so it benefits you now. Again, everything that they want in your business to buy it are things you can do right now to create value and make the business more successful for you and your family right now. Thanks. That's it.
Any questions? We have some questions.
Come on, I'm waiting for some hard ones.
Yeah.
No, you had some great questions earlier, so.
Are there companies that evaluate private equity companies? In other words, just plain an example. You're looking at selling your business, but the private equity firm has an interest in, you're in the beverage world, right? And let's say they have an interest in a manufacturer of plastics that produce actual containers, where they know they can reduce costs and there's profitability opportunities in the future. Are there companies that analyze private equity in the process of evaluating your business and saying, give you advice in that area?
The only ones that immediately come to mind, that's a great question, because now you've actually got me going, the only ones that will immediately do that are going to be investment bankers, because they're, especially if they're a sell-side advisor, they're the ones that are going to be dealing with these people, and they're making notes like, yeah, these guys are difficult to deal with on this. These guys don't like these kind of things, so don't even bother. These guys keep coming in and acting like they're interested and then never make good. So they're making notes and can probably give you commentary as far as if there was a mood.
I feel like they would have an advantage that you don't know about.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's why a good investment banking firm is important as well. You want somebody who really knows the pros and the cons of any potential bidders. And there's great regional firms, and then you get these big national firms. But yeah, the investment bankers handle a lot of that. But that's a great question. Now I'm going to have to call some investment bankers and see if there's actually somebody that actually rates those services. I have not heard of that. Because I think it's just, trust me, the investment bankers I know a lot about a lot of these different suitors. And they use it, they keep it in mind because it can, they're not going to put their clients and the deals at risk for somebody that may not make good on what they're doing. So a good investment banker immediately. If I find out otherwise, I'll tell Patrick and he can tell you, or you can give me a card. I'll get back to you. That's a good question. I'll find that out.
All right.
Well, I always tell people I think of my best questions after the fact, so I'm going to be here for a while. So if you think of one of those great questions, just come corral me and I'll be happy to chat with you.
Once again, let's give it up for so next month we're going to be doing we're going to have actually a panel on marketing. So we're going to have somebody from the social media realm. We're going to have some PR agency here, and then we're also going to have we're going to talk about websites and driving traffic via websites and analytics. So we'll be back here. I think we're excited to be back, and we're looking forward to 2022, and we want to make it. At the beginning of the year, we were saying all the time, it's going to be the best year ever, and then we said, all right, how do we define the best year ever? And we actually sat down and did that, right? We said, okay, here's what that means. So at the end of 2022, if we do this, 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 and this, it will be the best year ever. But thank you guys. Please stay around. Continue to meet new people, and thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I've had offers for people to buy my shop, and I'm like, not only have I invested money into the shop, but it's more hard, right? Tears, blood, sweat, everything. So I'm like, dude, if someone wants to buy my shop right now, it's going to cost them a lot. Yeah. And I'm actually,
something new.
Good.
You.
Well, thank you.
Excellent. Maybe we might want to do a podcast with you.
Okay.
A podcast on, because we've done podcasts on crowdfunding and how do you get the money, how do you do that, but now you've been successful. What are you going to do when it's time to sell?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank
Yeah,
you.
let me know.
Okay, so do you have a card?
You know what I do in my car? I meant to bring them in, but I don't have one with me.
I'll find your info and I'll give you a call.
Yeah, I think if you Google me, I should pop.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
I can, or I can get a. Yeah, Kevin and Patrick know how to find me.
Yeah.
They both do. So yeah.
I'll find it and we'll figure out when we can do that.
Yeah, I meant to do that to grab some cards, but I left them in the car.
That's okay. Did I give you my card?
You did.
Okay.
I can actually. What I'll do is I'll email you, so you have my contact info.
If on the back here, Mappable USA, that's our
Okay.
podcast.
Okay.
On there and see what our podcasts are like.
Okay.
They're only audio. We don't do video. They're only audio. They last about 30, 40 minutes, depending on how exciting the conversation is.
Right.
No scripts.
Yep.
No questions.
Okay.
Just a conversation.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Happy to do that.
Excellent.
Alrighty. Thanks,
Thank
Vicki.
you.
It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good.
Rob, I own a College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving franchise out here.
Okay. Yeah, well, good. That probably is a good business right now because there's a lot of people moving around. So.
It's a little off season right now, so
Oh,
it picks
okay.
up like spring, like post March 15th. Plus
Yeah.
I'm new. This is my first year at it.
Right.
I come out of finance as well.
Oh, did you?
Chase and Citibank.
Okay.
Pretty much running global operations, back office operations
Okay.
out of New York.
Yeah.